Okay, so I really like your shirt. It has a
Oh,
mushroom
thank
on
you.
it, everything connected. Absolutely. I'm on that vibe at all the time. I love that. We could really go into depth about mushrooms and the connectivity and how it relates to community and culture and all of that. But tell us what you're about. Tell us what you do and why you're here and who are you?
Amazing. I am Ashton Young, and I don't know why I laughed when I said that, but I think I laughed because when you talked about my shirt and everything being connected and the mushroom, it really put me into a mindset and a space of just recognizing and realizing, who I am and where I'm at in life and where I've come from and just understanding how much I've overcame in life, how much I've gone through in life, and just the fact that the more and more I think about it, everything is connected. The more and more I think about what I've been through and how it all ties into the man that I am today and I'm trying to become. A little bit about me. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, pretty rough city to grow up in. I've seen the good sides and the bad sides of life. Experienced a lot of trauma, have worked hard to overcome things in life, which kind of landed me to where I'm at today, which I work in the financial planning field, and I just truly take the time to think about financial literacy from a point of how can I utilize this as a tool and resource to impact and empower the lives of those around me, friends, family, and even those who don't know me. And so that's kind of how I went on that journey is through the struggle, through everything that I've experienced in life and taking myself out kind of out of that moment and analyzing the entire picture to say, why are so many communities struggling? Why are so many communities suffering? Why are so many communities in a place that feels like it's no way out in this sense? So that led me to taking a journey of studying finance, studying investment, studying money, studying any and everything that had to do with resources and tools that people utilize to have better lives. So I went ahead and got my bachelor's degree in business administration with a focus in finance. I've been in corporate finance for about 6 years now and just continuing to read a lot of books about finance and, really dove into the financial part of things about life. And with that in mind, I thought I was on the right path until I came across the fact that I didn't love myself. And when I learned that about myself, then I took a deeper dive into, okay, what does loving yourself look like? And the more I started to love myself, I started to understand, okay, I need to learn how to love myself. I need to work on personal growth and I need to understand financial literacy. So that's a little bit about my background, how I got to where I'm at, and what I'm working on now. I'm working on those three pillars, and I truly believe that those three pillars will impact my life as well as the lives around me because just focusing on those three values has already started to shift my life and where I'm at and where I'm headed.
Yeah, you get that which you focus on for sure. I'm so happy that we finally got on this call because it took us a couple of times I think this is our
Yes.
third time's the charm, right? We finally made it.
Yes,
And
man.
we almost got stormed out but the storms got pushed out. I was really, really concerned about that. I was like, please don't let me have to cancel on him for a third time. Um,
Yes.
I totally get it. Yeah, m money is something that everybody thinks about a lot. And unfortunately, it is something that we have to really study to understand because they made it difficult. They,
Hmm.
the culture has always been that I'm having a hard, my allergies are so bad that I can barely breathe. So I'm getting winded really
Oh,
quick.
no worries. No worries. Take your time. Take your time. I hope you feel better. You gotta get some honey. One of the things I've used for my allergies is honey, natural honey.
Yeah, my son made me some dandelion tea that he picked the dandelions from the yard earlier and made us a tea for it. It's supposed to
Oh,
help a lot too. Yeah, and
that's
it
so
helped a lot with the
nice.
stuffiness, but I still feel like I'm having a hard time breathing. But anyway,
Mhm.
the culture. historically around here, at least in the US, I don't know how it's been around the world. I don't, everywhere you go has a different culture for every
Hmm.
topic of life. But here for sure, you don't talk about money. You don't talk
Hmm.
about, or historically, it has started to
Hmm.
change because we've woken up to the idea that, oh, we were taught not to talk about money because if you don't talk about money, you can't learn about money and you can't understand money because it is a whole different language. It's a whole different understanding. And, you know, uh, Tony Robbins has a really good book that I read most of. It's very,
Hmm.
and he tried to simplify it as best he could, but it's still so complicated because it's a different language. And
Yes.
so it's not complicated once you just like, I'm learning Spanish. That was really hard until I got the basics down, and now it's getting
Hmm.
easier. So just like with learning curve. But for sure, you have to, if you want to be better with any category in your life, you have to spend time focusing on that. And a lot of people want to avoid it, honestly.
Hmm.
Um, I talk all the time about how you have to set aside time every month at least. Everything is a relationship and money is
Hmm.
a relationship. So, just like if you have a relationship with your spouse that you're ignoring them, you're avoiding them, you're telling them that they're not good enough, they're not there enough, and that's what we do with money. That's a bad relationship. But
Hmm.
even if you just sit down and look at your finances for however long it takes you to do that every month, just take inventory of what you have coming in, what you have going out, just spend time with it, date your money or whatever. But yeah,
Definitely
also with
read
self-love.
some books.
Yeah, yeah. So whatever category. We could go in several different categories there because I can talk about self-love for a while. I can talk about trauma. I've built the entire platform on healing trauma, especially like with the mental health aspect of it, but also
And I
also
love that.
also healing the body and the soul and trying to make that all make sense for people
Hmm.
as it makes sense to me because it all seems like separate things, everything like
Hmm.
money has nothing to do with spirituality. Yeah, it does. Everything's interconnected.
Yes.
Self-love has to do with money. Trauma has to do with money. I think we're pretty aware of that one though.
Hmm.
Generational wealth, generational trauma. It all comes together. It's all connected. The mushrooms told us.
Yes, and I love that I love how you brought it full circle, and I truly like the purpose and values of the podcast, which is one a major reason why I reached out, the trauma part and the healing and overcoming from it because as a minority, I've gone through so much trauma in my life, and one of the things that I have been attempting to do is use it as a way to one heal myself and help others heal. I feel like that conversation is being had more and more and more today within so many societies and so many communities because people are searching for healing. People are looking for peace. People are looking for love and ways to just, continue to walk with purpose in this world. And one of the first things we have to do is heal and overcome the traumas that we've gone through.
Yeah, everything is a healing process. Just like we're all born more or less whole.
Hmm.
Babies don't have a whole lot to start off with trauma-wise. We
Hmm.
all pretty well. The deeper you get into the healing and personal development world, um, and they say, it's a spiral and it always comes back in on itself. And essentially, you do eventually realize that you're the exact same person that you were at like age 6 or 7. You're just in a
Hmm.
grown-up body now, and that
Hmm.
changes things in a sense of now you have responsibilities and you feel like you're supposed to be a grown-up and act grown up, but
Hmm.
you can nourish that inner child and still be that 7-year-old while still meeting your responsibilities. It's all mindset, it's all cultural, it's all taking what works and leaving the rest, but it's a lot to sift through until you start actually doing it.
100%. I agree. Finding that inner child is something, I feel like is a part of the healing process, especially for me, just being able to laugh again, love again, and be yourself without, judgment, without, not being told you can't, even when it comes to playing video games, that's another way that I heal and I enjoy healing. But there are other times that people talk about, oh, you're playing video games, you're supposed to be an adult. And it's like, wait a minute. So I'm supposed to stop playing video games because I'm an adult now? Like that, it brings me joy, it brings me peace, it brings me happiness. It is connection for me. It is, a way for me to just feel safe and in a place where I can smile and laugh and have a good time with my friends, people I've never met before, form communities and bonds, like I don't understand what being adult has to do with, not enjoying life.
The people who look down on video games are the people who don't play video games. So we just have to love them and feel sorry for them where they're at and hope that they find happiness somewhere.
And
What do you
pray for them
play?
100%. I love sports games, so I generally play 2K. I also like RPGs. So one of my favorite games is RuneScape.
Okay.
So I've played that for many a years, and it's interesting how RuneScape has grown up with like the adults. So like the majority of the people that play RuneScape is all the kids that used to play back in the day, and they're in their like 20s and 30s now, and so that's pretty much the community.
Yeah, I feel the same way kind of with the Call of Duty
Hmm.
and Modern Warfare. That's mainly what I have historically played. And
Hmm.
I agree. It was all social for me, every bit, always has been. I used to, Black Ops 2, I don't know if I'm proud of this or if I regret it or what, but I put in a solid 6 days plus on that game, and that's just wait, no, that's sorry. I think it was 6 months
Uh,
because 6 days is not much, Savannah.
oh,
But
I
this
was like,
that was
yeah.
like 13 years ago at this point, so I'm working off of memory. But
No worries.
I only ever played, well, some of my best friends were people that I had never met. Some of the people that had some of the stuff that I dealt with in my 20s
Hmm.
and felt so alone and isolated. And people we're communal creatures. We need our village, we need our herd, we
Hmm.
need our community that is just as much as we need food and water. It is a
Hmm.
need, a necessity for proper health and well-being. And I was able to find that only through my Xbox friends that I played with every night. People that I had
Mm.
never met a day, like actually physically face to face met. And they sat they sat on the headset with me several nights when I cried and there was just nobody else. And we didn't even play that night. We just sat there and talked. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, any way you can find that healing, that community is always a positive. And sometimes it comes to us in ways that we don't expect to find community. And especially when it's tied to something like video games that has such a negative connotation, it can create a battle
Yes.
within us. And then we end up pushing our Xbox friends away or PlayStation or whatever, PC.
I
Um,
was gonna say definitely PlayStation.
well, now we know what sides we're on, but
Yes, we
it's
have
mostly all
established that.
porn these days. So, but and then we find ourselves pushing that community, that only piece of community that we have away because we're
Hmm.
trying to be a quote unquote adult and focus on things that actually quote unquote matter. But yeah, there's nothing more important than our healing for every aspect of our life. So,
Hmm.
coming back to money, if you want to heal your money situation, you have to figure out what's in you that needs healing.
Hmm.
Self-love,
100%.
whatever, whatever. It really, like, literally everything.
Yes, I
Relationships with
agree.
people.
I agree wholeheartedly, and everything you said, especially about the video game portion. I feel like that's a vital part of the healing process for a lot of people, like just having that community that you don't necessarily have in person, I've had friends that I used to have on PlayStation who we were like they watched us grow up, from the time we were 13 years old to 28. Like, for 15 years we played video games together. That's how we stay connected. And like you said, it would be a lot of nights where we're just sitting in the lobby talking
Hmm.
especially when we started becoming fathers and having kids. It's like, we sitting in the lobby and, nobody's complaining, nobody's rushing you, nobody's saying, everybody's like, oh yeah, I gotta make this bottle for my baby. I'm about to do this. And everybody's like, we're still on the mic talking, having a good time. But it's like, man, we're just really, reminiscing on the younger days, talking about things that we're doing in our life now, sharing stories about what our kids are doing, and just literally
Hmm.
just having a good time, really connecting with each other. And I will say, as far as video games goes, taking away the lobbies in video games was the worst thing that could ever happen.
Yeah.
Like the lobbies used to be one of the best parts. They used to be lit, especially Call of Duty lobbies.
Yeah, and they can be really toxic for sure, but that's where you
Yes,
meet your best friends at. Like, hey,
exactly. Like,
I'm playing for 6 hours, you're playing for 6 hours. If we can't, we don't like those guys. Those guys are getting on our nerves. So, hey, do you want to team up? You want to get in a party?
exactly. And
Yeah.
that's just how it went. You met so many cool people through the games, and so I can man, I look forward to pulling my PlayStation out and dust and taking the dust off of it.
Yeah, and it can be a purer form of friendship also, because since a lot of times we don't know what these guys look like. We don't know
Hmm.
what the rest of their life is like. They're probably 2 states away at least, so we don't have any
Hmm.
expectations for trying to like actually put clothes on and leave the house to go hang out with them. We play
Exactly.
everybody's
We
work
just
schedule.
exactly. You could just say, "Hey, you trying to play the video game?" Yep. That's been a long week, man. Let's sit back, relax, grab a brew or something, and just let's enjoy this video game.
Yeah, full circle healing is when you stop beating yourselves up about the video games and you just let yourself enjoy them.
I like that. I like that. Maybe I do need it. Maybe I should take my PlayStation out the bag tonight.
Yeah, maybe this is
Yeah,
your sign.
yeah, it has been. It's been a few. It's been about a year since I played the PlayStation. So
That's a really long time. Yeah.
it's.
I don't play near as much as I used to, maybe once a month at this point. But,
Hmm.
the games are just remakes of the old games, and I'm tired of relearning the same game over and over again. I wish they would just add new maps indefinitely.
Hmm.
That's the
That
like,
makes sense. That the DLC.
hmm.
I feel like that. I feel like for me, I tell people that's why I work so hard. I'm working so hard so I can just sit back and play video games all day.
Yeah, and our culture also glorifies the hustle, the go go go, the productivity.
Hmm.
So video games aren't really seen as something like that. So it's hard for a lot of us who want to amount to something. I want to amount to
Yes.
something. I want to be successful. Well, people like that don't play yeah, they do. They do. Super successful people play video games. It's um
Sorry.
kind of a new thing. I don't think it's new. I think it's I've heard several like celebrities and famous people recently talking about how they play video games. I think they said Elon Musk is number one in the world for um what does he play? Elder Scrolls. Is it Elder Scrolls or no, Diablo? I think it's Diablo.
Okay.
And so, I mean, if he can play video games and still do all those things, regardless to how you feel about them, I think video games are
Hmm.
okay for successful people.
Exactly. Take a beat. And then I'm definitely gonna take that into consideration. I think like you said, it is confirmation that I needed from the gods that be.
Yeah, you can run yourself to death. You can run yourself into the ground real quickly with trying to do more, be productive for the sake of success. But at the end of the day, you have to figure out what you define as success, and So we went and did our taxes yesterday. And every single year, I am nervous as crap walking into the tax place. And I'm like, man, I hope I have all of my ducks in a row. And
Mm-hmm.
just please don't let my tax lady judge me about where I'm at. And
Mm-hmm.
I was telling my husband about it beforehand. I was like, you know what, though? I was like, the numbers might not be quite where I want them to be, but
Mm-hmm.
I am so happy with my life and how it is.
Mm.
And that's what success is. And he was like, yeah, and the kids always have their mom around when they need them. I'm like, yeah, yeah.
That's
So,
lovely.
yeah, you have to, my schedule's as flexible as it gets. I get to do what I want, when I want, how I want, and I don't have to answer to anybody else. And, I mean, what more could you want?
I agree. And that's one of the things that's been my mantra as of lately as well is, I have told myself and I tell myself every day, and it's been helping me overcome a lot of like depression and PTSD and things of that nature when I say I am closer to my dreams and goals today than I have ever been in my entire life.
Yes.
And that has been, just thinking about that, even though there's so much going on, so much to think through, so much to really just, cope with and overcome. It's like, but guess what? I'm close. I'm almost there. I'm not there yet, but I'm almost there. And if I could go back to a year ago, a day ago, a month ago, 20 years ago, I would not because I would be further away than I am now. And if I can recognize that and sit with that and understand that, then I should be motivated. I should be happy. I should be able to understand that, yeah, there's going to be hiccups, there's going to be ups and downs, but look at how far I've came.
Yeah, it's all waves. It's ups and downs, and there is
Hmm.
no finish line. There is no almost there because almost there is, I mean, essentially death, right?
Hmm.
If there's nothing left to work for, it's all about the journey. There's no
The journey.
destination to the journey because, uh, you think about you've achieved everything you could possibly want in your life. You have all the money you could possibly want, all the free time you could possibly want. Now what? Now what?
Now we now we play video games.
Now we play video games. But eventually you're gonna get you're gonna for like 3 months probably you're gonna be like, yeah, playing video games 6 hours every day, just into that routine.
Hmm.
Like I could live, but it's gonna get old eventually. And you're like, man, where's my purpose and fulfillment? That I thought I
Hmm.
had that. I had that when we started here, and it's slowly dwindling away. Um,
And I
but
think what you said, you bring up some very important points, and I think that's why that self-love is. Oh, sorry. That was a thunderstorm. I just heard it go boom, and
you've got my
we have,
storms.
yes, we got the storm down here. But what was I saying? I was saying, oh, the value and the beauty in self-love, and why oftentimes when I talk about financial literacy and education, I have to mix in the personal growth and the self-love
Hmm.
because one of the most important aspects to acquiring wealth and building wealth is understanding what you want out of life. You
Hmm.
know, you may not need $1 billion to get what you want out of life. You may need $1 billion to get what you want out of life. It just, you have to sit with the idea and the ideology of what is my purpose? What do I find value in? At what point in life will I say, okay, I'm happy, I'm content, I'm satisfied, and I'm grateful? And that's what you go after, whether that's building wealth, whether that's personal growth, whether that's self-love. You have to take a moment to understand what are the things in life that you would consider successful, that you would be grateful for, that you would say, you know what, I have acquired what I need to be comfortable and live the life that I want to live.
Yeah, because if you don't feel happy about yourself and your life and gratitude and thankful and all, like, if you don't like yourself now, you're not going to like
Hmm.
yourself when you get just the monetary stuff without the backing it up also. Because
Hmm.
most people don't need much money to actually hit there, because all of us want the same things underneath, freedom, happiness, health, love, connection.
Yes.
not a whole lot from that. It's all emotional. It's all feelings. We want to feel connected. We
Hmm.
want to feel loved. We want to feel energetic. We want to feel happy. We want to feel healthy. We want to be able to do what we want to do when we want to do it. Period. With the people we
Exactly.
want to do it with.
Amen. Exactly.
Yeah, a
And
lot
I
of
feel
that
like
doesn't
that comes with a
cost a whole.
lot.
We want the money because we think the money is going to get us happiness and freedom and and better relationships and love and connection. And sometimes it can. Money's a tool just like anything else. And
Hmm.
it can absolutely help for sure. Um, but if your kids never see you and you spend 15, 20 years trying to build this wealth, and in that time you neglected them and were stressed
Hmm.
out, so you were angry and you were short with them and you told them no, you don't want to go play baseball with them and you don't want to take them
Hmm.
to get ice cream and no, go on, leave me alone, I have another work call. You're not building a good relationship with the people that are in your life. And that's just an example. Take it and spread it as you will. But
Under 100%.
you have to really prioritize your priorities, I suppose.
Hmm.
And to do that, you have to know what they are. And a lot of people, we think we know what our priorities are until we like achieve them or really think about them. How many people have gone on a diet and been like, if I lose 50 pounds, I will be happy with myself. So they do the work, they lose the 50 pounds, and they're still not happy. They're still not happy when they look in the mirror. They're still not happy with other things. The relationships are still bad. They still don't feel loved and
Hmm.
connected. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, you mentioned a lot of things. That's why it's important to understand what it is you want out of the journey that you're going on and understand how that adds value and purpose into your life, into the things you're doing, into the love that you have for yourself. I feel like the shirt is perfect for what you're saying. Everything is connected.
Mhm.
Your money is connected to your self-love. Your self-love is connected to your personal growth. Your personal growth is connected to your friends. Your friends is connected to your job. Your job, like everything is connected because at some point when you really sit down and write out, this is what I want out of life. This is the purpose I have in life. This is the things I need in order to fulfill the purposes. The things that you align yourself with and the actions that you take should match what you want out of life. If saying I want to lose 50 pounds, it should be more than just I want to lose 50 pounds so I can look good. It should say me looking good or me understanding that I lost this 50 pounds will let me know that not only do I look good, but I understand that I can set a goal and achieve it. I can cross it off my list. I have the discipline to do this, and I can take that discipline and apply it to another area of my life. Like not saying that everything has to be so meticulous, but there does need to be a purpose for why you're going after goals and dreams and things of that nature. And that's one of the things I definitely have ensured that along my journey, I truly take the time to write out what am I doing things, what is the purpose, so that way, if I ever get to that point, I can be grateful, I can be have gratitude, have grace, and just be content with, where I'm at and where I'm going.
Sure. How we do anything is how we do everything. And,
Mm.
just continuing on with the diet aspect as an example. A lot of
Mhm.
people, they'll set that goal and they'll work really hard towards that goal for a set amount of time. And if they achieve that goal, a lot of them stop. And
Mhm.
then they're like, oh, well, I got here and now I can go back to eating the honey buns and the fried chicken. And it's like, I sometimes, I don't believe in deprivation. I believe
Mhm.
in limiting.
Mhm.
We're having to limit my husband's fried foods right now. It's becoming a problem. Like your blood pressure is giving you warnings. But
That makes sense.
we're not trying to deprive ourselves. We're trying to because even with the healing and the finding self-love and the doing the inner work, the playing the video games, we think of it like, oh, I need to do less of that. And
Hmm.
it's really hard to do. to stop doing something that's already programmed into your consciousness and subconsciousness. But
Yes.
what's easier is adding things in. So,
Mm.
instead of like, oh, you can never eat cake again, it's like, well, how about we limit the cake and we just eat more carrots? I don't care if you have to drench it in ranch dressing. Like, just get the carrots into the system, get it working in the
Mhm.
rotation of everything else. And you just build on that. And the good crowds out and I don't like good and bad. I like helpful and unhelpful
Mhm.
because
Oh,
everything
I
is
like that.
everything's two sides of the same yin and yang symbol, right? You got to have the light and the dark both. And and language helps us navigate all of that. So it's helpful and unhelpful. And
Mhm.
so yeah.
No, that makes sense. And luckily my fiance makes some really good carrots. I've been
Good.
blessed to be able to add that to my life and my diet because I need it. And so the fact that her carrots are just so soft and so good and they just taste amazing. I have been, like you said, limiting the cakes, adding more carrots.
Good. I love cooked carrots. I'm not a huge fan of raw carrots, but if I
Hmm.
slice them up super thin, then I can eat them. And I don't mean thin like on salads you get, but
Hmm.
thin like they
Kind of like
call
French fry or
yeah, yeah, something like that.
that makes sense. And I like what you said. I have to think about that more often, not depriving myself of things, but within moderation and then adding in the good thing. Like, for me, I have deprived myself of video games when I could just limit it and then add in books or something like that.
Yeah, well, boundaries. It's creating boundaries. You have to create boundaries with yourself, just like you have to create boundaries with relationships and
Hmm.
everything. And it's not about keeping things out, but it's about allowing things to be able to be present in your life in a healthy way. Moderation, everything in moderation.
Yes.
It's like meditation. People always think people are like, I can't meditate. Like, how do you cut your brain off? How do you just silence your mind? And
Hmm.
no, that's a laughable concept made by people who aren't very good at teaching meditation. So
Hmm.
just like this, instead of trying to shut off the thoughts, you want to crowd the problematic thoughts out with
Hmm.
more positive, helpful things. So,
Hmm.
like with trauma and depression and anxiety, all of these things, you have really intrusive thoughts that come in, and those are what like escalate the issue because your body and your nervous system can't differentiate between what's happening now and what happened in the past or what has never happened, and you're just worried about it and it might
Oh, wow.
the thought comes into your mind and your body reacts to it as if it's real. So if you're
Hmm.
having these really unhelpful intrusive thoughts, step one is awareness. You're like, oh man, that's going on, which is not
Hmm.
you think it's not hard to do. You're like, well, of course I know it's happening, but you don't realize like, oh, I'm doing that thing again. And then what are my tools? What are my tools? And
Hmm.
so you crowd it out with, oh, that's a nice curtain. I'm glad I picked out that curtain. And these walls, I'm still happy with this color. Yeah. Whew.
Mm.
Man, it feels good to breathe. I'm so glad I can breathe today. You start
Okay.
small and you refocus your mind on elsewhere. And
Hmm.
it's hard at first. It's super hard at first, but you just keep practicing and you have to train your mind the same way you train a puppy. You have pets?
Hmm. We have a cat, yes.
Okay.
We don't have a, we're planning on getting a dog somewhere in the near future, but we currently have a cat. And, like you said, I feel like a lot of what you said just makes a lot of sense because it's definitely about removing those negative thoughts and focusing on the positive and just having grace and giving yourself grace, giving your space. So the space to think about the positive things in life, because it's so easy to think negatively. It's
Hmm.
almost interesting the way that our brains are set up to how we can just so instantly and easily think about all of the negative things and
Hmm.
how it's hard to sometimes think about the positives that are out there.
Yeah, it's our survival instinct. It's
Hmm.
we survived this long. Like me and you made it here because our ancestors were really good at noticing all of the things that were potential threats. So
Hmm.
we evolved to notice the potential threats because those are the ones that
Hmm.
matter. Those are the ones going to kill us and our kids, and we need to be aware.
Hmm.
So that's why the news is so negative all the time. You don't hear about the you don't hear about the puppies and the kittens and
Hmm.
all of the good things in the world on the news. They're only telling you about the bad things because that's what
All
gets
of the
ratings
negative
up.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
All of
because
the negative things, all of the propaganda. You hear about every negative shift in the world, and it is like, like that's why I
terrible for
have
your
to
mental health.
delete. So that's why I have to delete social media every now and then and take breaks because you have to whenever it comes to what they're putting out into the world, what they're putting out into society, and what we focus on. That's another
Hmm.
thing. Like you said, what we focus on. Yes, it is important to be up to date and know the dangers that are out there, but let's talk about the goods sometime too.
Yes. Be prepared for the worst, but hope for the best. Assume the best.
Yes, I love that. Prepare for the worst, but like you say, expect or assume the best for sure.
Yeah. They say some of the happiest people live in in the most war-torn places because
Hmm.
every day they're just happy to be alive. Every day it's just like they
Hmm.
understand that life is fleeting. And that's the funny thing about trauma is that some of the most well-adjusted people I know, the most adultiest adults, are the ones with the worst
Hmm.
childhoods, the worst upbringing, the worst history and backstories. And then some of the
Hmm.
most adults that don't quite have it together yet are the ones that had the best things as a child and everything handed to them and yada
Hmm.
yada cliches, whatever. I guess it
Yeah.
builds character. But, none of us are happy that we experienced any of it for sure. And
Hmm.
it's not a just get over it type of thing. Just embrace, be happy that you had all that happen to. Nah, man, and none of us happy
Hmm.
about it,
Yeah.
and that's okay. That's okay. But
Yeah, we just learn from it, adapt, and continue pushing forward for sure.
yeah, you have to find acceptance that it did happen. It's like
Hmm.
we can sit there being mad all day long about the cards we were dealt, but at the end of the day, we still have to play the hand. We still have
Yes.
to, we have the cards that we have, and might as well make the best of it, right?
Amen. Amen to that. Still have to move those pieces on the board every day.
Every single day. So,
Yes.
again, how you do anything is how you do everything. And we set these goals and we hit them so we think, but it doesn't fulfill the thing because we weren't after the correct goal in the first place.
Hmm.
The only goal, because none of us really know what's going to happen, we can set goals, but we don't need to be too terribly attached to them because if we get too attached to them, we're going to be very upset when our life goes in a completely different direction. But if we
Hmm.
allow the ebb and the flow and the flexibility, then we open ourselves up to the possibilities of what could actually make us happy rather than what we think would make us happy. We're here until we die. And, be happy now best you can because in the end, that's something that you can work towards now is just
Hmm.
how can I be happy with where I'm at and what I have at this moment? And then build from
I,
there.
I agree. I love that. I feel like that is a amazing um way to think about it and a lovely reason why I always, well, not always, why I have of lately been really finding so much value in the term grace. Just being Giving yourself grace, giving yourself room to breathe, giving yourself room to fail, giving yourself room to make mistakes and live life and understand that it's going to come with ups and downs and adversities, but that's all a part of the experience. It's a part of life. Obviously, we hopefully get to a world where there's more peace, more love, and more care. Though it's going to be a journey, and it is important to enjoy the journey along the way as well, for sure.
Yeah, and coming back to what you said earlier about healing and focusing on being the best you that you can. We created this world by hurt people hurting people. It's
hmm
just ripples out from you. If you're having, you can be having a really good day and then you run into somebody, a complete stranger at Starbucks, say, and they are really rude, treated you awful. You had an altercation with them, and then you spend the rest of your day being mad. That's the same thing as having a good interaction with someone and spending the
hmm
rest of your day being happy. And in that way, that's how we created the world full of hate and war and greed and trauma and all of the not helpful things that we're all dealing
hmm
with. And then we flip it by the same way, but in the opposite direction. But we can't be our best selves out in the world if we're, stressed out, anxious, and therefore snapping at people, not in control of our emotions, saying things that we don't mean, letting the worst of us out.
I agree 100%. That's why I love finding values and peace and self-love and looking inside first before trying to go out and take on the world because the world is going to test you. It's going to test your boundaries. It's going to test your ability to help make it better in every aspect of of life that we can think about. And so what you said makes a lot of sense. Being able to change the trajectory of our future by instilling those morals of loving ourselves, loving our neighbors, and just really being better humans, being the best versions of ourselves. That's why I work so hard for like I say, one of the key reasons that I said in the beginning is to be the best version of myself. I feel like if everybody just focused on being the best version of themselves instead of trying to tell other people to be the best version of themselves, the world will probably be a little bit better.
For sure. Without perfectionism, though, because perfectionism becomes problematic also. Because again, the yin and the
hmm
yang, the dark and the light, every single one of
Yeah.
us has a dark side that we battle with,
hmm
And that's being human. Being human sucks a lot of the time.
Definitely.
But as bad as it is, it can also be that good and better.
hmm Oh, it definitely can, especially when you take the time, like we were talking about, to heal and find video games or take trips or spend time with family and friends and do those things that matter.
Mm-hmm. All right, where are you at?
I'm currently in Florida.
Okay, cool.
And
I'm
yourself?
I'm in Alabama, so we're not too terribly far
Okay.
away.
Oh, that's nice. So you and your husband live up in Alabama. That's amazing. What part? I have family in Montgomery.
Okay, we're the Athens Huntsville area.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, so super north.
hmm
As far north Alabama you can get almost.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm down here in Melbourne, Florida.
Okay, I saw you were traveling a little bit doing podcasts as well. You get to do that
Yeah,
sometimes?
yeah. So when I first started the podcast, it was I'm doing a little bit more virtual now, but it was all in person at first. Though I just moved, so I'm still trying to get used to the area. I don't know many people, so I still do. I have done 2 episodes so far in person, so I still do in person, but I've been venturing into the virtual space as well.
Well, it's a lot easier just to do virtual.
Yeah, I like both setups.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun,
Yeah.
but as a parent, it's just a lot to deal with. You have
hmm
at least you have a child, right?
I have a daughter, yeah.
Okay, I thought I had heard or read or something. All of
hmm
my notes got deleted because I use my emails as notes. I don't actually
mm
take the notes from my emails and put them elsewhere. And if you get
hmm
a train of emails that are too long and go on for a length of time, they start the computer just Google starts deleting the old ones, and I'm like, wait, I need those.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily. I don't think it deletes them, but you have there's like the three dots that you have to click on in order to like open up the messages further and further. I don't know
Yeah.
why it's set up that way. It's
It has
so.
a limit though. I found that out
Oh,
when I was
really?
trying.
Is there a
Yeah,
limit?
there's a
Oh, wow.
limit because I
Oh,
was
I have
trying
to
to go
look into
back and
that.
look at my find your links and stuff. So you're gonna have to send me your links and everything again
Oh, okay.
so that I can
I
put
can
them in the
definitely do
show notes.
that. I can
Cool.
definitely do that.
How old is your daughter?
She's 8.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a
I have
nice little baby.
I have a 7-year-old little girl, and she just
Hmm.
turned 7 on Valentine's Day. And then,
Oh, happy birthday.
yeah, well, and my son turns 10 next Sunday. So
Okay.
1 week from today. So,
Oh, that's awesome. My daughter turns 9 Monday.
oh, wow.
The Monday after, not this Monday, but the Monday after your son's birthday. Yeah.
So they have very close birthdays. Neat.
Yeah,
He's an
that's
Aries
awesome.
also.
Yes. They are something else.
Do you get into astrology at all?
Yes, I love astrology.
Okay.
I'm a Scorpio, so I feel like, I've learned so much about myself on my self-love journey through studying astrology and
Mhm.
understanding how I can, be impacted by it.
Sure. Yeah, I tell people all the time because, it gets a reputation for being woo-woo and, yeah, a
Mhm.
pseudoscience. Okay, sure. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if you believe if the planets influence you or not, even though they do. But it's an introspective tool. Just like
Yeah,
anything else, when you don't know where to start in healing and figuring out who you are and your purpose and what fulfills you, astrology is a great tool to just, okay, so you're Scorpio and you look up all of the aspects to Scorpio and you just take what resonates and you leave the rest. And
mhm.
oftentimes it triggers thoughts and it triggers thoughts brought up from your subconscious because all of the answers are within and you have all the answers inside of you and but you got to figure out how to dig them out of the subconscious and that's a really good way to do it, is letting it trudge up anything. It's like, oh, okay, so that's why I do that is because of that. Well, it all makes sense. As long as you're
I
not using it as
agree.
a scapegoat.
And you said something very important too. Like, I feel like you said, you take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And I feel
Mhm.
like that's oftentimes why people develop biases and struggle with things. And because oftentimes we go to places looking for, okay, if this doesn't give me everything I need, then it must not be true, or I can't believe it, or things like that, because it said one thing that you can't take away. But, if you actually, like you said, just take what matters to you or what you feel connects with you and aligns with you and leave the rest, But like you said, just I feel like looking at astrology and understanding Scorpios have helped me, think about so much because a lot of the things make sense, and I feel like a lot of the things that I listen to and read and study about Scorpios, I'm like, yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. Yep, that makes sense. And then even, you read, I feel like you find little communities too because you find other
Mhm.
Scorpios who are like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do this. And y'all all have similar stories and similar feelings, similar emotions, similar, it all makes sense. And even the people who aren't Scorpios talk about Scorpios and they all have like similar stories for dealing with Scorpios and things like that. So it's like, it must be have some truth to it. If all of these people from who've never met have similar experiences and connect similarly, it must be some type of truth to it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of layers to it that, and however you find community is exactly how you should find community.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we always want to be very rigid in you know, putting things in boxes is the human way, but everything in reality is much more abstract than we allow
Hmm.
it to be, much more ebb and flow. Uh, in I'm really interested in languages, in cultures, and our English Western speaking world is more linear, and
Hmm.
it has a start and a finish, and everything's very concrete, and it's like A plus B equals C, the
Hmm.
end, always. And then, so that's the Newtonian logic that's tied to the English language and the Western world. Whereas in the Eastern cultures, Japan, China, those areas, they have a paradoxical
Hmm.
logic. So theirs is more circular. It's, well, yes, A plus B equals C, but sometimes A plus B equals F, and sometimes A plus B equals Y, and sometimes it equals Z.
Mm.
So they're much more flexible and abstract and flowy with their just everything, their culture, their way of thinking. And they're more community, like it's just it comes full circle. It comes to the all connectedness, because I could go on for another hour about that subject of itself.
No worries. I like that. I like that understanding, and thank you for sharing. It makes a lot of sense, especially when you think about other languages. You mentioned you're learning Spanish. I'm also working on learning Spanish and French. So you learn just how, different the uh, languages are and how they have an impact on cultures and
Hmm.
communication and things like that. It makes so much sense.
Yeah. I took 3 years of Spanish and came out with the vocabulary of like a 2-year-old. I knew words, but I couldn't put
Mm.
any sentences together. In fact, a 2-year-old could probably speak way better than I could in Spanish. And then when I was in college or had just gotten out of
Mhm.
college, somewhere around in there. Rosetta Stone was the only way you could learn a language at that point in time.
I
So I was
see.
like, okay, I'm going to get Spanish. And then they came in like a really thick pack of like 5 DVDs or 5 CDs that you put in your PC. And my PC doesn't even take discs anymore. So that's moot. But I was going to get Spanish, and my friend that I had at that time was like, let's get French and learn it together. I was like, that makes no sense. Why do we
That's
need
pretty
to know
funny.
French? Like maybe if we were in the northern states, it'd make a little bit more sense. But every third person around here speaks Spanish. We need to learn
Mhm.
Spanish. And she was like,
Yeah.
French. And I was like, Spanish, French. And me
That's
being
pretty
the
funny.
pleaser I am, I'm the chill friend that just, okay, sure, we got
Hmm.
French. Spent like 2 years learning that, so I know just enough French to mess up my Spanish because they're so
Mm.
similar. But
Yes.
they say once you get one down pat, or when, because they're all Latin, they're both Latin based.
Okay.
Once you get fluent in one, it makes it a lot easier to learn the third, and you kind of just
Hmm.
pick up the third. Not a big deal because again, they're very similar. There's just
Mm.
differences in a few things. So I'm hoping to eventually get to that point and we can full circle learn French too and be trilingual. That'd be
And
cool.
that would be amazing. And I do see some of the similarities in it as I'm learning French because I did learn a little bit of Spanish throughout college and high school. And then my daughter is also Hispanic, so I learn a little bit from their language as well. So yeah, I do see the full circle moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should all learn more languages because it opens your mind to different ways of thinking, for
Hmm.
sure. Because our
Yes,
language creates our world, and that's why affirmations are important and stuff.
definitely.
All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on. I'm glad we finally made it work.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Savannah. I truly appreciate the time and the amazing conversation.
Yeah. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Awesome. So again, my name is Ashton Young. You can find me everywhere, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, on YouTube as Ashton Young. And then I have a podcast called Pure Vita Wealth podcast, and you can find that if you just search Pura Vida, which is that's a Spanish name, by the way, that I got from Costa Rica. So it's PURAVIDA Wealth. So Pura Vida Wealth on Instagram, all streaming platforms, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. And so those are the two places you can find me the most.
Awesome. And you're going to email me all of those so that I can drop them in the show notes so that people don't
Yes.
have to look very far or work very hard to get to you.
Awesome. Sounds lovely. I'll get that to you. If not tonight, definitely in the morning.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.